One second.
People that don't.
1
that
second.
have Meetings.
Okay. Welcome everyone, to our Economic Development Culture Committee meeting. Today is December 12th, 2023. We are just waiting for a couple of our members to arrive, so that we can meet quorum. Thank you so much for your patience.
Or we go to summer. In the summer, I don't do no matter what, I don't do less.
Okay, meeting is called to order at 6:40. Marlene, can you do that for?
You have to do guidelines, rules and all that stuff, hold on.
I think I have you.
It's okay, I'm gonna move aside. This allows me to do it.
Okay, in order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participants icon and you will find the raise hand function there. If you have technical difficulty, click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. The chat should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record when recognized. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. We will now take attendance by roll call.
April Autry is appearing by Zoom and will not count towards quorum. Mark Ruberski.
Present.
Brandon Gillespie. Christina Johnson.
Present.
Sharada.
Present.
Giselle Malave.
Present.
Alicia Miranda. Jessica Morris.
Here.
Eugene Rodriguez.
Here.
Vinnie Torres is appearing by Zoom and will not count towards quorum. Jenny Tromsky. Anne Marie Vasquez. And Jason Wu. Here. We have a quorum, Giselle.
Great. Okay. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by board office and was posted online. If there's no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Committee members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand to be recognized. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. Okay, September, October, November's minutes were submitted to Angel today. They will most likely be submitted to the board members and then we can take a vote on it in January. Announcements. So let me take out my agenda. CB11 will hold a public hearing on the Department of City Planning's City of Yes for Economic Opportunity proposal during its full board meeting on December 19th, 2023. Marlene, is George James appearing at land use tomorrow? Okay, so George James will be on land use tomorrow, going into depth about the City of Yes. I would like all the members to either attend on Zoom or be there in person, because we do have to give in our recommendations to land use.
You said that on Zoom.
If Angel doesn't send it, you just go online. And you can register for the meeting through the calendar. You go to land use December 13th. And you click on it and you register.
Thank you. Questions,
Yes, yes.
So, the reason it was also referred to the Economic Development and Culture Committee is because the package is City of Yes for Economic Opportunity, and it may have significant impact on our local small businesses and, that's why it's been duly referred. So our input relative to this committee's purview would be specifically in regard to any restrictions or permissions that would help or hurt the changing regulation as it pertains to the economic option.
Yes, so during old business, we're gonna go into that, because I wanna be able to at least bring out of committee today 10 questions. So it could be one question from each person, based off of, the presentation, what you've read, some type of, any question that you have. Um, even if you don't agree with it, if that's also feedback, that's also just a suggestion, and state your why. Okay? I wanted to just announce that tomorrow, at Mount Carmel Holy Rosary School, 371 Pleasant Avenue, at 5 p.m., there is a Build-A-Block meeting. This particular meeting is special because they're gonna be giving a Narcan and CPR training. They're expecting about 50 to 75 people attending. At the end of the, meeting, you will leave Narcan certified and CPR certified. So I believe they're giving out like certificates. And, for the parents in the community, residents, community board members who want to attend, I strongly encourage you to do so. So at 371 Pleasant Avenue at 5 p.m. tomorrow. We also received an email from our chair. Just want to repeat that Malik McCullough is collecting toys to give to the youth, to shelters in East Harlem. If you can please donate a toy, please bring it to full board, to our full board meeting next week. Okay, now we will move on to our informational updates. Who do we
The toy
have?
have to be wrapped?
I think somebody asked that question. Yeah, no, I don't think it has to be wrapped.
They need to know who's the toy for.
Okay. So, we will now hear an update from Uptown Grand Central, Carrie King.
Hello, everybody. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So there's so much going on for the holidays in terms of culture and small business. There's one more night to catch the Harlem Night Market at La Marqueta. This year it is in La Placita on 115th Street in La Marqueta, and in the new Urban Garden Center at 111th. You can catch a trolley that's sponsored by Union Settlement from La Marqueta down to Urban Garden Center for crafts and Santa and free hot chocolate, and then back again. So you got 1 week left. So come out and support. I think we've got about 80 different vendors across all the different nights. And, like 90% or higher are very, very local, and the rest are mostly local. So you're supporting local businesses when you come. We're also doing hot chocolate rides, which unfortunately keep getting rained out, but we've got one this Sunday where you can hop a bike and go to support local coffee shops. And then next week is the winter solstice on the 21st. So there's going to be a marching band, 2 marching bands, and a concert at 125th Street and Park Avenue, as well as a parade to see all the new murals, which are 99.9% complete. So now when you come out of the Metro North of the 456 at 125th Street, you are basically surrounded by half a mile of new mural art. So come and join us for any of that. And then also just in terms of other things that are going on, I think probably a lot of you have seen on the news the Operation Four Corners at 125th Street in Lexington. This came out of the mayor's office. Evidently the mayor came up one night and did not like what he saw at 125th and Lex. And so now there's a lot of city resources concentrated on that corner. And that's why there is all that new lighting. There's a lot of the new police light towers that are there. And for the first few months, it's been mostly run out of NYPD and the mayor's office, but they're starting to let the community get a little bit more involved. So we're hoping to learn a little bit more about that. And then as well, the Business Improvement District we're still working on doing outreach for that for 125th Street, East 125th Street. And we've got more than 50%. There's lots of different ways that you can measure the outreach. But on the basic, one of the measurements we've got more than 50%. One of the measurements we've got more than 76% support. So it's going along well. And thank you for the support.
Thank you, Carrie. I have a question before I open it up to other board members. How is it going with, you mentioned the last time that there's like businesses may be able to not have to pay that tax, or pretty much be tax exempt if they're like they're in an affordable housing building for the DRI. Are there a lot of businesses that fall in that category or?
That's so yeah. So to explain for those that each business improvement district, the way that the revenue is generated is through a formula, and so the formula for East 125th Street, we created it so that there's one of the pieces of data that is filtered into the formula is something called taxable value, and so the buildings that have an affordable component, not always, but usually will have a lower taxable value rather than the other metrics you can use to pull into the formula. So yeah, so that helps several of the properties for sure. And I think people also are just really excited to capture the new development that's coming in and to be able to like have a mechanism to, get dollars from the new development to support street cleaning, winter lights, things like that. So I think that's why it's kind of going pretty well so far. People are excited about it.
Great, thank you so much, Carrie. Any board members with questions? Recognize.
Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
I'm kind of wondering, if someone wanted to be a vendor at one of your events, what would be the process they would have to go through? One, and do they need any formal licensing in order to participate?
The night market at La Marqueta is in a city-owned space. La Marqueta is owned by the EDC, owned by the city, managed by the EDC, the Economic Development Corporation. So to be in that space, it requires that the business be formal, formalized in that it have permits and insurance and all that. Also requires a high amount of insurance from us as a nonprofit. So to be in there, this year, and I know this is getting recorded on Zoom, so I'm a little worried. But but this year we've been able to work with EDC, and they are requiring they're trying to help us out. So they're requiring food handlers and temporary food service establishment and insurance from food vendors, because it's food, people are eating it. For makers, people who are doing like crochet jewelry, stuff like that, where they might not normally have like a full business plan and LLC and all that, we developed something where they can sign a release instead of having to get all that paperwork. So each year we try to make it a little bit easier, and EDC is trying to work with us as well. So that's good. Currently we're full on vendors. So if you go to our social media, most people have already filled it out, but there's an application form, and people apply and put in their social media and all the information about their business. And right now it's a wait list basis, but people can still go and fill it out in case we have any last minute openings.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a link for that?
Yeah, let me drop it in the chat. Oh, I don't know if that's gonna work for you, but I will do that and we can figure it out.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that question. Thank you, Carrie. Jessica?
I do. Carrie, I know you're focused on, I know you're focused on getting to and all the things, through December and the holidays. What does the first quarter of 2024 look like? Anything big on the horizon? Or are you just marching forward with the bid formation and, DRI grant process? Or is there anything else we should be aware of up ahead?
Well, the winter lights are on as of a few days ago, and they will stay up through February. So that's another thing I should have mentioned before, is the reason we wrap the trees is because it was sort of accidental how we started wrapping the trees, but we discovered it really is a benefit, because that permit lasts through the end of February rather than the holiday lights that are the swags. You have to take those down in January, but the trees we can keep up until the end of February when the trees start to bud again. So on East 125th Street, especially, bringing that light down a little bit closer to the sidewalk on the trees is really helpful because it adds a little bit of a security element. So that will be up. And then another thing I will be inviting you guys to, we're still trying to figure it out, is I mentioned Operation Four Corners with all the big police lights that are at 125th and Lex. We are also working with small business services to come up with some more creative lighting. Sometimes that police lighting, it's bright, but it's not welcoming. It doesn't make you feel like you want to shop or stay or hang out. So we're working on developing a little bit more of a creative lighting solution. As part of that, I will send you guys an invite once it's scheduled, but we would love to take you on a light walk, where we can all go and look at the lighting, not just like, is it bright, is it not bright, is there light, is there not light, but what do we need to make this feel like a place I want to stop and shop and stay and feel safe and enjoy myself. So that's going to be in development the first part of the next year. And so you guys will get an invite because and probably public safety and transportation too. I'd love for all of y'all to come be eyes on the ground.
Thank you for that question, Jessica. Thank you, Carrie. The light walk, you would prefer, we have time, let's say, you said at the beginning of next year. I'm wondering if it's too cold in January, are they giving you time for like, in case people wanna make it to like this, like a warmer light walk, or is it like time sensitive? With SBS?
We'll see. We want it to be really, really dark when you guys walk so that you feel the full impact of the darkness, in which case I will provide hot chocolate and hand warmers. But stay tuned. Stay tuned. We'll get it scheduled. We do want it to be like so you can see maximum darkness.
Thank you. All right. If there are no more questions, we will move on. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. I believe Michelle Cruz from Union Settlement will be here next month to get her report. Is Musella Lander here? Chelsea?
I don't see anybody in your panels.
What about CC?
Let's see. Let's see. Who's your rep for Caribbean culture?
Yeah.
Okay, you can call them. Is it Euphemia?
Let me call her to see. Okay, do we have someone here from Caribbean Culture?
She's raising
I'm
her hand.
Euphemia.
Sure, yes, you are recognized. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
I'm Euphemia. Were you guys just calling for me to start?
Yes.
Okay, great. Alrighty. Can I start off with asking how many of you guys are familiar with Strive? Because I don't want to go all the way to the beginning if you guys have some awareness of what we do at Strive. Okay, we
I'm
don't.
familiar.
Yes, we're familiar with Martha from Strive, yes, and a few other individuals. We've had them present at our committee.
Okay, great. So I won't pull out the PowerPoint if it's not necessary. I'm just going to go over some of the newer things that we have going on in Strive, because I know you guys have important business and I don't want to take away from that. So my name is Euphemia Lopez. I work with Strive, and Strive is a program that seeks to help disadvantaged, marginalized communities get access to not only jobs, but careers. So what we try to do is find out what the barriers are for them not getting to those careers, and then remove those barriers one by one. So at Strive, we have a three-prong approach, which starts off with mental health, which is like, in a lot of our communities, we're not taught how to behave necessarily in a professional setting. And we can sometimes get, a little bit angry. So we try to address those things, especially trauma, sometimes can make us as a community a little more defensive. And so we try to address those things from the very beginning. So we start off by, teaching people how to tap into how they're feeling, how to, express it in a professional way, how to sell themselves. So these are all part of the mental wellness, and that starts at the first day. And then we have credentials, which depending on the program, they can get either construction, which starts in February, and the construction, they get OSHA 30, they get SST, they get scaffolding 16 hours, scaffolding 4 hour, they get flaggers, they get silica, And then at the end of that, if they don't have any work experience, we try to get them some internships. So we try to get their mind right, their skill set right, and then get them some experience. So that way, as a whole, they'll be able to find better quality jobs. Now, in the midst of that, we have job coaches. So let's say they're at their job and they start feeling, like they don't know what to do, they have an issue, whatever. They have 24-hour services. They can call their job coach and explain to them the issue, and their job coach will help walk them through it. Also, if for some reason they lose their job or they just don't like it, they can come back to us for life. And we've been around for 40 years, so we mean for life. And come 2 days a week. We have job club for all our alumni, and we try to always have different type of activities to keep the alumni engaged with us as a program. So that's the construction. That starts in February. Then we also have health and office operations, which starts in Manhattan on January 5th. And what that looks like is that's for people who would be working in the hospital to do like patient transport, food, custodial. And so with those, the certificates they get with that is bloodborne pathogens, OSHA 10, food handlers, and CPR. And that starts January 5th in Manhattan. And then we also have, and that's 18 and above, right? So both of those programs I just spoke of is 18 and over, and no justice affiliation necessary. Then we also have Fresh Start, which is a program for reentry, and that's 25 years and above. They have to be out of the prison system or the jail system within the last 6 months, or on parole or probation. It doesn't matter how long they've been on parole or probation. And with that, we give all of the things that we talked about, the mental wellness and the job, mental readiness and the credentials, but we also guarantee them an internship, because we realize a lot of people coming out of prison don't have a lot of job experience, and so they need that for their resume. So it's, a guaranteed paid internship, and that's going to be starting in January as well. And that program will be the maintenance. So the maintenance will come with sexual harassment training, oh wait, where's my flyers? Sexual harassment training, OSHA 10, and custodial. It's like a custodial training program. It has a lot of different attributes to it. I'm not really 100% sure. I apologize for that. And then we also are opening up in Brooklyn in January. So in January, we will be opening up in Brooklyn, and we will be having the health and offices will be our inaugural program in Brooklyn. And that will be the same thing, the bloodborne pathogens, the food safety, the OSHA 10, and the oh my goodness, why am I so caught up for words today? I don't know, but the CPR. All our programs come with a learn as you earn. It's not a lot of money. It's not something that nobody's going to join our program just for the learn as you earn, but it's just a little thank you and a little something to keep them going until they get their job. So they get a Metro card. Everybody gets a Metro card every week. Everybody gets lunch at least 2 or 3 times a week. We have something for breakfast for them every day. And then they get little bonuses of $75 after the first 2 weeks, $100 after the first month. After the next month, and then $125 after they've been working for 30 days. I'm not sure if I have the ability to attach the flyers in the chat. Is it possible?
Yes, you should.
Okay, all right, great. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But that's a pretty much overall. I know I went through it pretty fast because I like I said, I didn't want to take away from the business you guys have at hand. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them right now.
Thank
And I'm
you.
attaching it now.
Thank you for your presentation. I do have a couple of questions before I open it up for board members. If you can drop the, if you can also send us the flyers to the email to either
Absolutely.
Angel, Marlene, or I. You have our email, correct?
I do. Yes. I'm
Okay.
trying to
the
see
first
where I can, is there gonna be an email list, given out for the people who attended?
So are you in the, she has access to the chat, right? Can you drop on?
Yes, she's a panelist, so you have access to the chat and you could drop it in.
Okay,
Okay, and then, maybe Marlene could
Just
leave her
go,
the
just
email.
scroll, look at the bottom of your screen. I'm sorry.
Maybe you could leave her the email so that she knows.
Yeah, she could just send it to the general email and they'll pick it up.
Okay, so, Marlene will put the general email in the chat so you can send it to us.
okay, great. That's perfect.
Okay, so question, have you presented to the Health and Human Services Committee?
I have
On-
not. No, I
Let
have
me-
not.
advise you to, I would advise you to, I think this is really good information and considering that you have a lot of mental health tied into, your program. And it's always been, an issue in many communities as well as ours. I suggest you reach out to Health and Human Services to present, as well and give them all this information.
All right, I'll definitely do that. And I appreciate that advice. I will definitely do that.
Of course, and then my last question is, where in Brooklyn are you opening?
So about that, right? We're absolutely positive we're opening, but we're not absolutely positive where the location is as of yet. So we're really like going hard trying to find the location and find a really good place that's gonna allow us some room to grow and everything. But yeah, so I'm not 100% sure, but I will send you the flyer with all the Brooklyn information. And right now, the hub for that is going to be in Manhattan. So we're going to be cultivating everything we need to cultivate. So that way, once we get that space, all we have to do is transition over there to that space.
Great. Thank you. All right, I will recognize board member questions. Christine.
I just have one quick question. What is OSHA 10?
Okay. So OSHA 10 is site safety.
Okay. All right, thank
Yeah.
you, because I know what OSHA is, so, thank
No,
you.
yeah, so it used to be just OSHA 10 and then OSHA 30. Now it's advised for people to get like so they call it like OSHA 40. So it's like the complete package is those two components put together.
Thank you.
Eugene.
So you're not representing the Caribbean Cultural Center?
No, I'm not representing the Caribbean Cultural Center.
Okay, well,
But
that's
you-
what we were supposed to be listening to.
That's what I was.
we were a little confused because we had called one of the other institutions to present, but you are a presenter as well, and thank you so much. If there are any other, Jessica has she's a board member, she has a question.
I don't have a question so much as a comment. I'm familiar with some other, similar resources offered locally. And I'm also aware that, programs, while they're intended to, provide supports and on-ramps to, civility in often challenging life situations for people, in process, there is so much intellectual capacity that is sort of undervalued in the nature of people who are in difficult situations. So I just want to encourage the program while you're developing different aspects of the work that you do to really recognize the true capacity of the people that you are going to serve.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I totally agree with you. I'm not in a position to really do too much in that vein, but I absolutely understand what you're saying. And it's a little bit sometimes frustrating when the employers have a list of requirements that don't really have anything to do with they kind of like create barriers versus taking away barriers. You understand? So like, for example, our program for the health and hospitals, we require that the hospitals require that they have a high school diploma. And so that is a barrier. that is kind of lengthy to overcome. So we can't, you know, and sometimes it can makes an individual really discouraged, and that sucks because I don't think that the high school diploma is going to make them clean any better, or you know what I'm saying, or you know, transport patients any better. Not saying they shouldn't get it. Of course, people should get it, but you know, I definitely understand what you're saying, you know, so we try and, you know, encourage people and utilize all of our partnerships to just alleviate as many of those barriers, because I find that when you find someone who's in that pivotal place in their life where they're really ready to make a change, it doesn't take a lot for them to get discouraged when they haven't ever been encouraged. You understand what I'm saying?
I do, yes, thank you very much. I think you are in a position to be an advocate as well as a point of service delivery. So you know what I'm talking about and appreciate that very much.
No problem.
Thank you for that question, just Mark.
Yeah, I'm just curious, we're later in the meeting going to actually vote on a resolution for supporting emergency work permits for all the asylum seekers, immigrants
Right.
coming flooding into, New York. Does your
Mhm.
organization have any future plans, current structures to support those asylum seekers as they look for work and potential
So,
careers outside of your
we-
scope?
We would absolutely love the opportunity to do that, but just what you're just voting on is the hurdle, that they don't have the work papers, and most of our employers won't hire someone without work papers. But once those things are put in place, we would absolutely really be grateful for the opportunity to help help them, you know, make a new life for themselves. That's exciting. Right?
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Vinny Torres, I will recognize, he has a hand up. Hi, Vinny. Vinny, you're unmuted.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me there?
I can.
Great, great. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Lopez, for that presentation. So, question on the OSHA
Okay.
construction training that you guys are providing. I believe you stated in February. Can you step us through the class size? And how many classes do you guys offer for that? How long does that class usually take? And in periodic cohorts that you guys have
Absolutely. That's
performed,
a great question.
yeah, what's the placement rate associated with one of these classes?
Okay, so we have an 80% placement, 80% graduation rate, and like a 75% placement rate.
Awesome. And how long is that class? How long? Because I know you
6
mentioned
weeks.
40. Okay, so 40 hours of training, which is pretty much throughout a 6-week program. Okay.
No. It's not 40 hours in training throughout a 6-week program. It's about 35 hours a week for 6 weeks. And the reason, even though the certifications don't require that much training, the reason that we do it that way is because we want to make sure that when we send people off to these jobs, that we already have vetted that they're willing to come on time, that they're willing to stay the whole day, you know, that they have worked through any of the barriers that they have that keep them from being going to work on a steady basis. Because as you know, like sometimes if you send someone and send enough people and it doesn't work out, then those employers don't want to work with us anymore. So we try to make sure that by the time they finish with us for those 6 weeks, they already have gotten a good rhythm for working. They are completely capable in terms of their skill set, but also emotionally and intellectually. And they also have, you know, they have everything they need to succeed. We don't want to put them in a position where they can't. Let me answer some of your other questions. So the average class size runs between 15 to 20 people. And they run 6 out. I mean, like I said, usually 9 or 10 o'clock till 4 o'clock, Monday through Thursday in class. And then Friday is a Zoom class for mental wellness. That's the wellness class. They the beginning of most of the trainings we have a component where they're with us for half of it, and then they get trained in, like, let's say Bronx Community College for the other half. Like, one of our construction trainers is Andromeda. Our phlebotomy is at Bronx Community College, so it usually is twofold, so it gets split up. The things that we're capable of training them in the class, we do, and then the things that we're not, we outsource it. You asked about the time, the graduation rate, the amount of people there. Oh, and then how often they run? Every 6 weeks. So as soon as it ends, within the next week or two, the next one starts. So there's always something going on. There's always a cohort going on.
Got it. Thank you so much, Ms. Lopez.
No problem.
Thank you for that question, Vinny. Thank you again, Ms. Lopez, for the information and attending our meeting. I hope that you can visit the Health and Human Services Committee and then, give us an update on how the program and the cohorts are working out next year.
I will definitely do that. And then and also right now, as I'm speaking, I'm going to go ahead and attach the stuff to Angel's email.
Great. Thank you so much. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you for having me, guys. You're doing great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. I'm not seeing anybody from Caribbean Cultural Center or Environmental Art Space. So we can, yes.
I can report on them by the board.
Please do.
I attended 3 events. The first one was Friday. I have to go.
Go ahead, you can start.
So I like I said, I attended three events at Art Space. First one was the Salsa night on first Friday of the month. And because the licensing and permits committee gave them an unending license to serve booze, they'll be doing first Fridays on this summer also, which they couldn't last year. Then I attended a play at the theater at Art Space, which is in the basement, about Arturo Schomburg, which was very interesting. About 50 people attended on 3 separate performances. So there was one Thursday and 2 on Saturday, or 1 Friday, 2 on Saturday. At the same time, they had an artisans fair in the community room on the first floor, which was very well attended also. So Art Space is really rolling along, and I think designating the community as a cultural district will really help them.
Thank you so much for that.
Any questions?
For Eugene, any questions, Christine?
Yeah. Why is this information not disseminated to the community? Because I live right there and I don't know anything that's going on in that center.
What information?
About the play, the art.
That's a problem we've been having for all the cultural institutions in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
How do we get the word out? In the proposal I have to create a theater district, one of the things is to be able to let everybody know what's happening in the community. We need a neighborhood newspaper that talks about culture as well as other issues in the community. The community board does a pretty good job, but I don't think they have anything about Aspect 109 in their community. Maybe we should talk to them.
Reach out to them. Angel has suggested that we reach out and see if we can host some of our board meetings, or one of at least our board meeting at the location. So sometimes it's
Once since they've been open.
This is gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. But I'm saying, I live right across the street and they don't even put out flyers or anything, so nobody ever knows what's going on there. And the only time I've ever seen anything happen was maybe 2 summers ago. They had a little jazz band outside and I just happened to be
That was
passing
a
by.
Tudor Farrell, yeah, and he just opened space there.
Mhm.
Let me tell you something, all 3 of those organizations I'm a member of, I didn't find out what they were doing either.
So why don't they talk to some of the resident leaders in the neighborhood to help and disseminate this information to the residents.
Well, the people that put on the dances on Fridays
Mhm.
are not associated with art space. They just rent the space. So it's up to them to advertise what they're doing. The people that put on the show also were not from the community. But they were able to rent the space because I think one of the actors actually lived in the building. But the rest of them, came from all over the place. So it was their responsibility. I'm sorry, the sponsor was in the building. And it was her responsibility to let everybody know at that time. I received a message about the play the day before. So, I mean, they need to upgrade how they let people know what they're doing. I have the same
But
problem.
should
when
there
I
be
do
some sort of requirement if you're renting this space out to have, say, a certain amount of tickets for the neighbor?
That's a
Just
great
in
question.
this space.
And that's actually, sorry to cut you off, Regina. But that's actually the beauty of community board work, like, we live here, we work here, we see these streets, we know these facilities, we walk by them every day. And you have the power to go in and speak to someone and like, let them know, like, hey, listen, I'm right across the street, I never know what's happening here, like, is there some way I'm on the board? That's like community, work, and that's great. That is the. So thank you, Eugene, for that report, and then I want to recognize your chair.
So they don't have a budget, for advertising is one of the problems that they have. Like I said, the cultural district might be able to solve that.
Mhm.
But right now, I understand what you're saying, because I don't get the stuff and I'm involved in it.
Mhm.
I mean, 5 other people in the play were my actors,
Oh.
and nobody let me know.
Sharon,
Well, that was my question, like, how did you know? Who informed you, the day of or the day before? Like, who are these people, right? And can we talk to them to come in to one of our meetings and just share once a month an agenda?
That would be.
yeah, they are on our information update, so like Angel has suggested, we definitely need to reach out and hopefully by
And
January.
that's now run by Acacia. And Acacia is also in line to run the Julia de Luz. Okay. So they
Okay.
have the same problem.
Thank you, Eugene. All right, so that concludes,
Of course.
The guy running the.
just the young person.
What's her name?
Acacia?
I'll remember next week.
We can always ask
No,
Angel.
Acacia is
Angel's both next week.
The umbrella group is Acacia, but the person that actually runs the joint is a lady, shit, I can't remember.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Jessica,
Thank you.
So, two questions. One, a question then, so Eugene, were there any, beyond the sort of wonderful exchange of culture, were there any, indications that, there was an awareness about the, pending legislation with regard to cultural districts? And then two, amongst organizers, would be the question. And then the second question is, in our comment or whatever the board may do as far as action is concerned with regard to the cultural district legislation that Senator Serrano spoke with us about last week, would there be some value in raising the issue that communication awareness within communities where there's a high prevalence of cultural activities is something that would need to be amplified and supported by the type of funding streams that cultural districts would perhaps open up? So that's something that maybe we can call out later in the process, that would support beyond just putting the process together on the other side. So go there too, I'll be knocking on the door, but I think the value of every tiny little shoestring organization doing great work, having to invent the wheel to make sure everybody knows about it. Is there not just a way they can plug in and have that amplification process already exists, right? So that those from nearby or can. Yeah.
What was?
The question you think was anybody aware of cultural?
Actually, yeah.
this situation lately?
Everybody was asking me about it, and where we were, but in relation to my work, they wanted to know what my net protection was. So when they asked me that, I always said, well, when we do this, I'll be able to do that. But yeah, there's a lot of interest in it. We had somebody from the Schaumburg Center there, who's also at the New York Region Poets Cafe. I don't know if you know the place, but they were very hot on. Yes, we should do that for both Harlem and East Harlem. My actors were all really, pumped to see it happen. But I never got a chance to talk to the lady that runs the PS101. Rolinda's her name. That's.
We just.
Yeah.
Jessica, this also, in our last meeting, Michelle Cruz had informed the committee that she is going to be reaching out to the committee as well as Eugene personally, for the feasibility grant, and in that, they will be exploring theater district in Charlotte. So marketing, promotion, and getting that, like you said, everybody plugged in to amplify all the events that are happening, that can be something that is raised in that study. So thank you for that. We're gonna move on. That concludes our, presentations and discussions, and informational updates. We do have old business. First up, resolution for support for emergency work permits for asylum seekers. So Jessica had raised that full board and she wanted to make a friendly amendment. Jessica, the floor is yours.
So I think it may be more than, a friendly amendment. I think, Maria, is it possible? Well,
I'm sharing my screen. I'm the one sharing. What do you need?
no, that's okay. So it's something that is a sticky issue where nobody can really essentially make anything happen. The nature of the issue is that, and if anybody knows better than I do, please speak up and correct me, so that there's a better understanding that, when asylum seekers arrive, even after, starting the formal documentation process of registering for asylum, there's a significant waiting period before, a work permit can be obtained. That waiting period is not just an administrative delay, it is built into the process, that you have to wait X number of days, which is somewhere 60 to 90 days, I'm not sure exactly what it is, some significant number of days before you can even be eligible for a work permit to begin work. And that's not something that can change at the state level, I don't think, and it's not something that can change at the city level, certainly not. But in an urgent
Can you
situation,
bring up the wording?
there are,
Just so you can look at what the committee wrote.
there's a,
Okay, I don't liaise for this committee, so you want me to go inside your folder?
So I sent, Angel
You sent it to Angel.
yeah,
I won't have it, but you sent it to him.
before he may not have seen my message, but, there
Yeah,
was
you
wording sent to Angel. Jessica, did you look at that, what we proposed in our?
I'm looking at, so just before, so where there are urgent problems, the solutions in the existing system don't exist. So what we are calling for is something that,
I'll look for.
I don't think
I'll
solves
look in your
the
folders.
actual issue.
So what is the,
So you
change
don't
that
want
you wanna
a friendly
make?
amendment.
So,
Oh,
well, I'm wondering in the statement here, everybody's read it? No, no. Okay, maybe Giselle, could I read it aloud for the record so that we're all on the same?
What's the name of the
page?
document?
Supporting work permits for asylum seekers, and I'm looking in, The shared drive under economic development, 2309 asylum seekers expedited work permits. There's we started, I think, down the road of letter of support. But that was not what showed up at the meeting last month. Which was, what showed up at the meeting last month was a resolution. I think initially, identified the issue as a call for action, and that's not something the board can essentially do, so. Draft resolution states, it is about, quote, I'm just reading from the document. Supporting working permits for asylum seekers entering our city.
Are you in this document? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yes.
I just want them to just follow along with you. I did not know you were gonna pull this up. I would have had it ready to queued up to present to you guys. So just give me a second, please.
I want to keep forgetting to check drive.
Is that? And I.
Thank you, Marty.
No problem.
What I.
Okay, so whereas Manhattan Community Board 11, CB11 recognizes the significant contributions that asylum seekers can make to our community's economic and cultural fabric. Whereas asylum seekers often fleeing violence and persecution in their home countries arrive in our city seeking safety, protection, and an opportunity for a better life. Whereas the ability for asylum seekers to access lawful employment opportunities is vital in ensuring their self-sufficiency and integration into our community. Whereas employment not only provides asylum seekers with financial stability, but also fosters a sense of dignity and belonging. And whereas granting work permits to asylum seekers is in line with our community's values of inclusivity, diversity, and compassion. Now therefore, be it resolved that Manhattan Ward 11 urges the relevant authorities to support and expedite the issuance of work permits for asylum seekers entering our city at the current moment. Calls upon local businesses, organizations, and community members to actively engage in efforts to hire and support asylum seekers as they seek employment opportunities, and calls on our city government officials, including the mayor's office and relevant immigration authorities, to express our community's strong support for the rights of asylum seekers to work legally and contribute to our city's growth. I don't object to any of that. I think it.
That's what came out of committee.
That's what came out.
That's, yeah, we sent that to Angel the next day after our committee meeting, because you had raised up the concern. Brandon had helped with the letter of support. We quickly fixed it, and then we sent it to Angel, and Angel sent it to all of us. So that's what came out of our committee, and that's what was presented to the board. What he put up on the screen was a resolution, yes, but our committee said that. So if you feel comfortable with that, is that okay, or do you want to add to that?
I think there's some value in calling out, perhaps in a whereas, an additional whereas statement, the facts of the existing administrative process.
So can we add that in right now? Can you add that, your exact wording of what you want added as the whereas, so that we can send this right over to Angel and
No, I'm autistic and I cannot do that in real time.
in real time? Okay.
No,
So
but
then-
what I'm suggesting in idea form, and I'm happy to put language to it when we are not in a setting like this. That the facts of the administrative process that caused delay is one whereas I would identify.
Repeat that?
The facts of the administrative process that causes delay.
90-day wait, the waiting period.
Yes. That's not identified in here.
So you want to add facts of administrative process,
Yes.
like a whereas?
Yes.
Okay.
I do have a question, Jessica. do we know why there's a wait period? What some of the facts are behind the wait period? What are they looking for? What that's about?
The rules are you have to wait.
Right, but
It's not a delay. It's
no, I get that there's the rules, but typically when there are rules, there may have been something going on that ordered the rules, that set the need for the rules. So do we know if there was anything?
It's a federal government rule, and
Mhm.
the Republicans simply don't. want
Okay, so it's a Republican issue, not there's
it.
any,
Until they do something about the border, that issue is.
okay. And that's been going on for how long?
20 years.
Okay, so it's not new to this clause.
It's new as we got asylum seekers before, we never had that many.
Oh, I was
So-
getting ready to say, we did have them, we just didn't have the
As
flood.
many.
Okay.
I would also add some factual information in the form of another whereas clause that points to the economic value of, uh, of immigrants in our community.
Don't
Like,
you say
and,
that?
and that's information that I'm sure I can find, so.
Isn't that one of the whereas already?
In soft language, it is.
Employment not only provides asylum with financial stability, but also fosters a sense of dignity and belonging.
Facts, I want like hard numbers about
Okay.
something,
Right.
and I'm happy to find those numbers and make it a stronger statement.
Okay, I think that's very much needed, yeah.
And then as far as the resolves go, so that first whereas was administrative facts of delay, and happy to kind of call out that context.
And the second one was-
And the second one is hard facts about benefits. Economic, yeah. And then I think the sort of additional resolve, the first one, maybe it fits in here, urging relevant authorities to support and expedite, work permits. I don't know if there is some way locally to just say that we're going to operate outside the law, right, to solve this problem here quickly and effectively, right? That we can encourage our mayor to do what he wants as a sanctuary city leader. If that's something the board would like to urge, right? I don't know, I'm not the mayor, so I can't make those decisions, right? Who knows what people could do, but there are tons of creative policymakers everywhere. I don't think the feds are going to solve this for us, and I don't think, we have this opportunity as a neighborhood that exists on Randall's Island right now, as people who are suffering in the street, to ask for a solution that doesn't exist already. And so I'm suggesting that urge relevant authorities to support and expedite work permits. That's fine, we do that, and I think we are. But we can also suggest that there's something more urgent that happens. I don't know what it is, but.
So in the resolve that you're gonna put, are you gonna add that language, or is it just gonna stay at urging relevant authorities to support, et cetera? Or,
I can put it with a such as type of thing. If that seems like it's controversial, we can adjust it or take it out. And the full board is next week, is that right?
I kind of wanted to hash this out now, but I understand if you need more time to add the two whereas and the resolve and possibly the such as.
Yeah, the such as would be in that first.
So we're basically not gonna vote on this today.
I don't think, no, I think Jessica made it clear that she can't make the corrections right now, which is fine. Go ahead, Mark.
I wish I remembered to read the damn thing and drive, because it's been a while since I last read it. But this is a federal process, right? That's what you're saying. And basically the feds aren't gonna fix it, because basically whether it's Republican opposition or whatever bureaucracy, it's not gonna fix it.
You're seeking asylum.
Right. So we're writing a resolution to somebody in the city, we're not writing to the federal government, right? To basically, in essence, ask them to go against the rules and create their own rules. Do we know of any other municipality in the United States that's done that?
Not yet.
Okay, so, I mean, have we have a history of asking for the government to break the rules?
So sanctuary cities are
Guess I don't know enough about.
places where, immigration enforcement is not the same,
enforced.
right, so there's a blurriness to the law in places that are considered sanctuary cities, which is, that's it's a contested thing, right, because of the nature of federal immigration law and what actually happens in places that are, Jason, you might know more about that process of declaring, you know, a sanctuary city. So, you know, it has been done in some ways that, some cities are safer cities for immigrants to land in than other places. By the nature of this declaration of a sanctuary city, I don't know how formal that is or anything. I don't know of any, program or policy or situation that exists where circumnavigating the expedited work permit process has happened yet.
Would a business theoretically that is hiring someone based on whatever sanctuary city sort of exclusion the city would come up with, but doesn't have a federal work permit, that business not be subject to penalty? Because
They're not in a sanctuary city.
we know this.
That's what the sanctuary is all about. They won't enforce federal rules on certain aspects.
The federal government might enforce federal.
Yes.
rules.
I wanna see the FBI come in here and.
I'm just trying, I mean, you may all know a lot more about how this all structurally works.
San Francisco has the same problem as we do, so does Denver. Their asylum seekers are sleeping on the street. They're not even giving them no places to stay. So I don't think anybody but us is talking about work permits.
And then that would mean anybody but us is not saying we're gonna circumvent a federal
I don't
policy.
think we're talking about circumventing. We're telling them, yo, you should look at this and stop messing around.
So the language we use
Yes.
is
It's
going
gotta
to be
be-
critical,
Yeah.
right? It can't, in my opinion, if it looks like we are suggesting the circumventing of a federal policy, that may negatively impact us as a community to suggest such a thing. But if we sort of suggest looking outside of outside of the comfort zone as a suggestion, exploring outside of have them explore outside of the comfort zone, rather than it be us saying, you need to.
No, innovative solutions.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
right, because there's wording that can be suggestive, and then there's wording that can implicate. And I think for me, there should be a delicate balance of assertiveness versus forcefulness, if that sort of makes sense to anyone.
The language has to be carefully
Yeah.
put to where we're,
We also feel that the Adams administration isn't trying to do this. I'm just curious what people's feelings are, because I don't really know.
Well, there was a moment of local scandal when he was supposed to make a visit to, Washington to ask for more help. Asking for help doesn't seem to be solving the problem, so are there ways to, you know, somehow solve the problem through a creative program here and in our city?
And I ask not to implicate anyone, but I will say in specific job functions, you do need 90 days to do background research, to do fingerprinting, and I hear that people may not come from this country, right? And I'm not minimizing any marginalized community. I'm saying in general, there are certain jobs that asylum seekers will go for, such as childcare, attendant services, things of that nature, that you do need to have background checks, fingerprinting. And so if we are saying, let's circumvent that, are we putting people who may potentially hire
Business,
a business at risk. And that came to mind because again, if I am referring you for childcare services or daycare services or elder care services, I do need to see what that looks like.
Absolutely. No, I think, and maybe, it was suggested that there be some sort of an on-ramp that is the form of a quasi-volunteer program that would provide some sort of voucher for local services, so that the mode of exchange for showing up to work,
Okay.
right? Whether it's a street cleaning program or, something that isn't quite so sensitive, from an HR perspective.
Okay.
And security perspective, but that the right to show up and be valued for showing up in a work type situation, that there be some sort of value-based exchange, that maybe it's not, dollars, right, just yet, but that there's some vehicle in that waiting period that right now
That you can
there's training programs, of course, but and really great programs with access to OSHA training and those on-ramps, they exist, but I think the kind of commercial exchange, the economic exchange of showing up to a training program or a volunteer program or something is not, that doesn't exist yet. And
Right.
maybe should, so,
Right.
and maybe it's an on-ramp but I appreciate your.
Yeah, because I heard Mark asked about Strive, and Strive, that would be a barrier to to anyone attending a program. So with lack of education, as Strive just said, you need a GED. So that serves as a barrier to begin with for all people, not just asylum seekers. But I was just sensitive because that's the area in which I'm employed, and I'm like, well, we wanna really be very careful in our language. Because it can turn around, in my opinion, and nip if something doesn't go as expected.
Jason, do you have anything to add to help Jessica, amend our, resolution?
I'll just say this is not my area of expertise, but I think that there is broad support for expediting work authorization on the city and state level, and so I don't necessarily see an issue or a larger conflict between what we're asking and what we're hearing from the mayor or the governor's office. I think like part of what I'm hearing is just wanting more clarity or accuracy in terms of what it is that we're asking for and like who we're directing this to, and so I don't have all of the information. I haven't researched all the proposals on the table or the various state or federal legal arguments on who can do what. But I think that there is broad support. I think it's something we should generally support. And I think to the point that there is a federal component, usually when we issue resolutions, we do send it to our congressional representatives, and so they'll certainly be looped in, and there are tied to the federal government as well. I don't know if, in terms of the accuracy around some of the language or proposal, if we're working with anyone or organizations that are working on this issue, that we would want them to just take a look at what we've written and to kind of double check for some of the accuracy. So.
Soon as it does feel like, at least little I know, it feels like there's a lot of alignment, at least within the city, in terms of this desire, right? I mean, even if Adam
Yeah.
didn't show up to that meeting, right? So there's like, you sort of be like mindful of like, we're sending a resolution to someone saying, do this. When theoretically they're trying to do this, sort of feels like, are we really actually accomplishing anything other than pissing off the person who's actually doing what we want them to do?
I think when the community exercises their voice in support of something that very really affects, there's the asylum seekers I've met on the street with a smile and a nod and sort of, elements of support in being here. There's an element of being comfortable in East Harlem. by the nature of the, you know, the informal exchanges that happen here, the culture that's I think it's a place where you can feel, you know, at home immediately there. So I think the fact that we are the connection to Randall's Island, where there, you know, are tents and, you know, tens of thousands of people there now, living, you know, they're our constituents, they're here and are our neighbors, and, you know, we are representing them. So I think by saying that we are and
This
we
would be
welcome
helpful.
and, you know, both as an influx to our economy, but also it's a citywide problem.
But maybe the words we should use would be or encourage or support efforts that are already afoot. I don't know what these resolutions, like, how these resolutions land in the offices in which they're sent. I mean, I don't know enough about the reaction politically or emotionally or whatever. But if you've got an administration that theoretically wants to accomplish this, then maybe we should need to say it in such a way that we want to encourage them to continue
Yeah,
to push that, not to come off as somehow we're telling them, get on this, as if they're not trying to do it.
I'm gonna recognize Eugene, and after that, we're going to move on.
First, I'd like to say, simplicity is the footprint of genius. And the simpler you make the request, the more effective it is. Let them read in what they want. Secondly, there's no people living on Randall's Island. There's a circus there. The tents you see are a circus.
Circus?
Yes,
No.
they moved them all out to the airfield.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're there. I just was there with my dog last week. They are, as soon as you come on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a tent.
Right.
That's a circus tent.
The circus tent is on the other side of the
So
island.
they're on water.
They're on Ward's Island and then there's Randall. You and I know everything as Ward's Island, but people have separated as Randall and
Well,
Ward.
there's three islands.
So it is on Ward, the Ward's part of the island before you cross over to that nice bridge. They are still there and they are very welcoming, and I hate saying they. It bothers me to say they and them. I don't know what that is, but it just doesn't feel. Yeah. Very welcoming, very pleasant, and deserve to be treated like human beings. So those persons still reside in the cold, although they heated the tents on that island.
And there's a circus.
And there's a circus. On the other- Yeah,
But
I think it's very
the
different.
thing is, most of the folks that I've seen them for years, usually do like cleaning services, work in restaurants. So the underground economy that we've had in the city for many, many years. But a work permit would allow them to work for corporations and stuff like that. But I don't. Like I said, the simplest request, I think, is the most effective thing.
And Jessica, do you think you will have, you, by January or before full board? You think you can
Before
fix
full
the
board, yeah,
language?
I'll send you, what I come up with in the next couple of days, and you can take a look, and maybe we'll go back and forth, and then we'll just ping the committee to take a look and offer any comments, on the draft. If you don't know where, we'll send a link so everybody can get to it and just take a look. Even if you read it on your phone, if it's read before we get to full board, I think that would be a good. And then we can vote, but then with an understanding that there's, you know, unanimous support at the committee table, but it was a matter of wordsmithing and getting, you know, to the right point before we get.
Great, I think all of this is
So let
great.
me add something just for clarity for myself, because filling in for Angel, I need to be clear when I'm reporting back to him. So on this specific topic, under your old business, there's no vote coming out of committee. The motion will be made at full board.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Moving on, our next topic of old business. Department of City Planning, City of Nesco Economic Opportunity Proposal. Who, I would like for us to come up with some questions, maybe 10 was a stretch, but, we've had some time to review this, we've had some time to, you know, read, we had a presentation, again, George James will be at land use tomorrow, so. At least 5 questions tonight, and then after tomorrow's presentation, I think that'll give us a lot more context, we can ask even better questions tomorrow. And then, we have to send our recommendations to land use. Angel wanted this by the 12th, today is the 12th. The 11th, I'm
Right.
sorry, you're correct, 11th.
So that's one of the challenges. I mean, I'm trying, I certainly can't say I'm devoting all my time to it. I'm trying to get up to speed on all of this,
On the
right?
business
And I've read not only the articles and things, but I've read the questions that have already been asked and answered. There's a lot. So I just want to dump more questions just for the sake of saying that we added more questions. And so I don't really think I have any questions that haven't been touched upon. The thing I keep coming back to, if there's a question, because I read all about the answer is all about enforcement, which a number of questions are about enforcement. Is, well, we already have rules. So they'll continue to be enforced, like noise regulation. I know from personal experience, DEP has absolutely no ability to enforce noise regulation. None. It's the most ridiculously futile process there is. And now there's gonna be things that are gonna create more noise for residents, and they're gonna be sent to the DEP to enforce it. It's gonna be the same frustration I felt for years trying to battle a piece of equipment on a roof of a building next door to mine. So what I wanna know is in all of this sweeping change that they're envisioning, are they actually putting more resources into coordination, into oversight, into enforcement? Or are they just saying that somehow the same processes that exist now will somehow magically, I mean, they're talking about the home businesses having a 15-foot space between, no, it's not home businesses, the businesses that are gonna be on the same floor as residential units. They have to have a 15-foot space, lobby or something, between the residents and the business. Okay, first of all, I just don't even know enough about the way that would be set up in the new structure. But who's going to come in and say, oh, that's not big enough, that's not really dampening the sound. I mean, overall, it seems like the general proposals are probably overdue. But it's gonna be how it really impacts people when it's in operation.
So what
that
is,
so
what
key.
would be your question that you
What, I
wanna?
wanna know specifically what additional resources, what new structures, resources are going to actually be leveraged to coordinate, to
What-
simplify, to expedite.
What additional, do you wanna write that down in
I
any?
couldn't write it down, it comes out of my mouth quicker than it comes out of my fingers.
I think, Christie, okay,
Hold me.
May I just have a response? Their, compliance with, regulatory compliance in any new building is a part of, the review process that, plans go through. So, code compliance, not just building code, but also zoning code
Yeah.
compliance. So in existing buildings or retrofits, any, and there's two types of filings at DOD largely. Alt one is for a new ground up building, goes through a full plan review where those types of things will be checked on plan. And then it's understood through various building inspections in the process that what's submitted on plan to the Department of Buildings is as built. So that's one frame of checking, and legally, there's a requirement to make sure that a wall section detail to show the performance of how the wall will comply with noise code standards based on what it's made out of, how much fluffiness or hardness or softness it has in it, if it's supposed to be a separation of use. And that will be how it's made. And then for all two, which is significant change to existing buildings, if you take a facade off, or if you remove part of the floor, or if you combine apartments or spaces within a building, that's something also that goes through a significant plan review with DOB. So any change of use, there's a little box you have to check that says change of use. So if it goes from residential to commercial use, and this would be a question of how does this affect the change of use? And I'm happy to put that one down next, but there is a regulatory framework through the Department of Buildings and through those two main filings where enforcement happens.
Right.
So it's not like some guy with a flashlight going out there to, check things out, what's tap on the wall. It's done through showing it in drawings and then, the legality of being in compliance with Bill that you shared.
So in a past life, I was a CFO of schools and schools that did construction projects. So I'm nowhere nearly as knowledgeable about all one and all two as you are, but I know about the entirety, it feels like sometimes the DOB's enforcement of what are sometimes really arcane actually things, but that's in the building, that's in the creation, that's not in the use. Once the thing is actually built, once the thing is approved, now you've got businesses that will start using the spaces that theoretically maybe weren't supposed to be used in the way that they are then eventually going to be used. That's the part I'm talking about, is the enforcement of what is supposed to have been built so that it didn't end up causing the problem that it causes. That's where I've seen in my own experience incredibly little actual process that actually is expedited or effective. Like, it's not the DOB's original review, which is unbelievably detailed and top heavy to a certain extent. So I just,
311 reporting, is
311
that
reporting is-
illegal use?
I don't think 311 really is effective at these things. It hasn't been in my experience.
Christine, I'm gonna move on to Christine's question.
This is a little above my pay grade. I'm sorry. I don't understand none of this, and since I'm new, I didn't get all the materials, but I did take a look at the slides that you guys sent. And still a little confused about what it all means and what City of Yes is. So I need to abstain from this and just take some more time to redo all the stuff that you, if you could send me all the folder.
I'll have Angel send it.
Yeah.
Angel, could you send,
Thank
and
you.
this is her first meeting.
Yes, my first one, so.
This is once in a century,
Mhm.
and that sort of thing happens, by the way.
Oh, okay,
Don't
good.
worry about it, yeah, don't worry.
What was
about
your
it.
last committee, Christine?
Johnson.
You were on another committee, right?
Yes, I was, but it conflicted with my TA meetings.
Which committee?
Licenses and permits.
Okay.
Right, so I
Every other-
kind of was in limbo for a couple of weeks because they didn't know where to put me.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Well, welcome, we didn't even welcome.
I know.
I'm so sorry,
It's
welcome.
okay, I feel welcome anyway.
So we're gonna send you that information. and
Yes.
then- So we do want to, once this Google Drive created, everybody drop their questions. We do wanna send this to Angel. Today's Tuesday, we wanna send this to them before Friday. And I know it's a stretch because it's a
I'll do
lot.
my best.
Community boards will have time to, comment until February, but we don't.
We just wanna get something
Right,
out
we wanna
there.
get something now, because
Okay.
land use meets again, and we wanna be as, efficient as possible. We don't hold up anybody's board work.
Got you.
And economic development is like key to this proposal.
Okay.
I don't have a question, I have a statement.
Okay.
I'm a no vote on any and all zoning changes. I have never seen a zoning change in town that has produced anything good for the neighborhood. R 7-2, which is what the majority of the community is zoned as, is our friend. It keeps these huge buildings from being built, and I don't think we have that many commercial spaces. So that a C designation that we have to worry about making a change like this. So I'm a no vote on every business.
Thank you for that feedback, thank you. And you can put that mark in the Google Drive as well, because if you're against it for whatever reason, please state your reason why.
But whenever we vote on it, I'll vote no.
But I would.
And you can abstain and that'll be 2 no's.
In all fairness, I mean, is there any one of the 18 proposals that you actually think has more merit, or you, I mean, my lived experience is a really
Yes.
important teacher. So I'm not refuting anything you're saying,
Yeah.
but it just seems to me that, like, the fact that, this is what I've been trying to figure out, is like, they put these rules in place in 1961 for a reason, right? But some of those reasons will eventually age and no longer be relevant. I wish I could get something that would be clear about, like, what are the things that now no longer will be, will able to be protected against.
Any zoning change I've seen is to benefit developers.
Well, it is to develop businesses and residences, no doubt, but.
I didn't say
But a lot of them
I
will
said
take
developers.
into consideration the residents and the whole makeup of the neighborhood, because we had several buildings built in my area that cut everything off, so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But for instance, or 7-2 included 100-foot setback from the train. You're not supposed to build anything within 100 feet of the train. You go down Park Avenue now, they got all kinds of buildings right up against it.
That's because the technology of building materials has advanced.
I don't care. You shouldn't have to live next door to the train.
You can now.
Yeah, I know you can,
You
but
still
you
go
shouldn't
like
have
this.
to, yeah. I saw them black movies where the train station passes the guy's house while they're murdering somebody in front of the street. You know?
Okay, guys, let's keep it going, cause it's 8 o'clock. We don't want Marlene to fall asleep.
But I will refer to the committee at the next meeting when they come out with some kind of resolution.
Okay.
So my concern, is more about the context of East Harlem and the potential for unintended consequences here. Specifically relative to proximity to, the downtown core. And, congestion pricing coming. So what that means, and what I think that means, what I wanna inquire about is, are there any protections for neighborhoods like ours that, where commercial rents would perhaps be less expensive, but it's an opportunity-rich area to be able to use methods like e-bike delivery or micromobility to deliver product to, just a little bit further south. And whereas, some sort of like small manufacturing space that would take the place of what George is calling this neighborhood retail, like along the side streets. If you have a kind of, instead of a storefront, you'll get a production space, because you can load up your whatever those carts are, Dutch Express, and kind of take it to where you need to go by foot, so you're not paying the congestion pricing delivery fee that others who manufacture in Queens or the South Bronx would pay. So I think we're perhaps at risk for uses that, but is a bakery a bad neighbor, right? So if it's if it's a production facility that's like, you get these sweet aromas of like something yummy, is that a bad thing? I think it used to be considered a bad thing because ovens were huge and there was a risk of fire, but now I think technology has changed. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I wanna say that the relationship of East Harlem to the high commerce zones further downtown and, Upper East Side, if you're serving with production those types of neighborhoods, then you lose the potential for a small scale neighborhood retail that would be about neighborhood services. So that's I think a risk that we may face. And I don't know what you think about that.
Let me try to understand what you're saying. So you're saying like maybe putting too much of a certain type of industry, like too many manufacturers, then that means less retail.
Well, so it's tied to it used to be like typewriter repair, like you couldn't put typewriter repair next to, so the use changes that they're suggesting to authorize means that breweries or bakeries were things that had happened elsewhere, but reducing the scale and allowing them to happen in neighborhoods is something that this text change is going to facilitate, because making is supposedly cleaner and not as toxic as it used to be, and to be away from residential areas. So I don't know that there's a risk here, but I understand that proximity is something that's somewhat unique. And then there may be a risk.
I think there is one of what you were talking about, bakery with the factory in the back on Third Avenue and 92nd, 93rd Street.
Yeah.
I think there's one there, and it doesn't seem to have a negative impact on the community. In fact, most mornings you go there, the line is around the block. and I bought stuff there, and it's,
Next to a school, isn't it?
Where is it?
I'm not sure, it's on Third Avenue, I think it's like 93rd Street.
Between First and Second, no?
No, right
Oh,
on
there's another.
Third Avenue, right on
Oh.
Third Avenue.
93rd, that's still on 96.
Oh,
Yeah, no, but I'm just, because she was talking about a bakery factory, right? So we could always go over there and take a look at that one, because there is like mass production happening in the back of the actual bakery, which is in the front. It's a bagel store.
On 93rd Street.
Yeah, I believe it's 93rd Street, but it's just right on Third Avenue. It's on the east side of the street, right on the corner of your campus.
I think other uses to be concerned with are distribution facilities, small scale distribution facilities, you know, that are dark.
Right, so I'm just saying, like, we could take a look at that and maybe ask some questions of these people, see
Yes.
how it affects the neighborhood, deliveries, stuff like that.
A component of
There's
action.
a factory on the corner where I live, and they have the manufacturer of the stuff like churros that you see everybody selling, that's where they make them. In, on that bakery on 118th Street. There's no aroma comes from the place, no problem at all. And then on the other corner is where they make the ices for the community.
Oh, in the.
I think I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Sure.
And maybe this has already been answered, in other meetings, but I'd like to hear the financial impact, the impact of taxes on persons who are already here. If more businesses come with that, would look like the rents, how that would be affected, as we start to open up the city of Yes. What keeps a property owner from increasing the rent should another business come in and can pay that, right? Part of the, in my opinion, part of the charm of keeping East Harlem affordable is to really look at what we're bringing in, how much of what we're bringing in. Big businesses coming in will equate to increase. Property owners can get what they can get, and we are, let's face it, in a capitalistic society. So the existing businesses, the charms of the neighborhood, the jewels of the neighborhood, will they be able to remain? Or as we open the city of Yes, will we be
Outpriced.
outpriced our small
Gentrified.
bakery? Yeah, I'm gently saying that, right?
Capital G, call it out, yeah.
Right, and our small bakeries, our small business owners, which we've been fighting to keep, where do they go? And so do we become what 34th Street used to look like?
And how do they adapt?
And how do
They
they-
still be a part of the city of
Right.
Yes, but they have to, like you say, adapt to what now these new.
Right,
changes.
and how do they compete? As we look, at how Chipotle, everybody be saying say it wrong. It's on 116th, where we have major businesses who had already done, not major, but small business owners that had already done it. And so how do they compete with the chicken? And how many do we have? Like, how many tacos do we need on 100? So we might need to look at how that affects, that's the
Can
one
you
thing.
email that question or those questions?
Ooh, she has me to remember. Okay.
Yeah, because we need to get these in, and this is the work that's done here. I love these conversations that we're having, because being that we're in a particular situation today, but we didn't really have much presentations and discussions. That's why I left this for that, so we have the space and we manage like
I
that.
just don't know.
Thank you,
My
Cheryl.
memory is support that.
And Jason.
I just wanted to flag that in terms of some of the concerns being raised, it may not all be something we can address through this proposal, but there are other, campaigns and legislation, and so I just wanted to flag that there was a commercial rent stabilization bill in city council that didn't pass. My understanding is Councilmember Ayala was the primary sponsor. And so it may be worth engaging with her office and kind of revisiting that issue and see if there's a way to get traction or perhaps for the community board to also publicly express support for that type of proposal, which would get at your concern regarding rising rent costs and displacement of
Can you
a
repeat
long-term
that? The commercial,
businesses. Commercial rent stabilization. Yeah, there was a bill in New York City Council,
Okay.
but it didn't pass.
Recently.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment?
yes.
So, going with, I don't know your name, Sharon said, right? There was a time, and if you know this, please correct me if I'm wrong, where, there was a thing about how a lot of bootleggers and smaller stores were, and fast food restaurants were infiltrating the neighborhoods. And so the residents did not have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And then they started bringing in these higher priced supermarkets, I believe it was. And so it kind of forced the smaller grocery stores to then start having fresher produce and things in the stores, instead of always just fast food and junk food. So to answer your question, that was one of the
It
things,
might be beneficial.
one of the positive things that came out of that whole thing. So that might be something that goes with what you said.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, does everybody have my email? CB11MALAVE, so you can text me your questions, and then I have the job of sending this to Angel. CB11MALAVE@gmail. Everyone should have. it.
No, I said hopefully you just got right.
Okay, good.
Good.
Yes.
You don't use ecodev@cb11m.org?
You can use that, but I get a lot of emails, and that's like, just for efficiency. Okay, moving on to our last topic.
So just for clarity, you're sending it to Angel by Friday, these questions?
Yes,
Okay.
Friday we'll have the questions that we're sending to land use as recommendations for the proposal city of yes. Designating East Harlem as a cultural district. Now, so I think these words put together have also tied into, in these past months, Eugene, Senator Serrano, the bills that you said you also supported from, let's see, Ed Gibbs and someone else.
Cordell Clear.
Cordell Clear, okay. So, Senator Serrano came last month, he presented. I think we all understand from that presentation that he needs support from like everyone. For this to just gain momentum, right? Start to get past, he needs it passed in assembly. He suggested that cultural arts center, theater centers, all these art and cultural centers, institutions that we have here in East Harlem, send out and show support on this bill. We are all in support of this bill, or
What is the bill?
it's designating cultural districts throughout New York State. It's our state senator, but,
It's
Eugene has also, since last year, addressed his advocacy for, activating the theaters here in East Harlem, because that brings money into the community.
to be more technical, is directing an agency of the state to come up with criteria by which actually cultural districts could be designated in the state.
Yeah, I think that's a part of the process though, Mark.
I know, I'm saying, but that's what it's doing, it's not actually creating any cultural districts, it's actually directing
It's
someone
showing support for the
to,
bill.
that's why I agree with you, I think the bill needs maybe support, but he didn't go into why the assembly didn't pass it.
He said that he,
They had a separate
yeah.
bill that looked different. The assembly bill was just designated East Harlem. The state bill designates the whole state. I believe in three things. I love Robert Kennedy's statement that people see things as they are and say why. I dream things that never were and say why not. So I dreamed of a theater district in East Harlem, and now I'm saying why not? Secondly, maximum utilization of available resources. The only resources that I see in East Harlem are mosquitoes, and we should maximize the utilization of those resources that we do have, rather than waiting for some Pollyanna resources that might come in. Somebody might build electric cars in East Harlem. It's not gonna happen. Thirdly, there is quality in quantity. Think about that. Quality and quantity. The more you do, the better the work is. That's why I advocate so strongly for the Julia de Burgos, because we can produce 12 plays in that theater a year. Right now, they produce maybe 1 or 2. It has no significant impact in the economics of the community. Whereas if that situation, if that building was running 24/7, or should I say 3 nights a week, you generate $12 for every dollar that they spend in the theater into the local economy. And if you go to 106th Street, they got like 3 or 4 restaurants there. That could use a boost. The whole community can use a boost. So what I suggest is Senator Serrano's bill is gonna take 2 or 3 years before they decide what they pass it, B, they put money to it, and C, designate which areas are gonna receive those funds. That's why I think we should jump now and start saying, yeah, we want that here. And B, we want you to definitely look at that, culture as economic development for the community. Which one of the things that we can affect the bill by what we do here, which is what Serrano said. Whatever we do here and designating what our cultural district will look at, they might duplicate that throughout the state. So I think we should jump out there and exercise some leadership in this.
Do you suggest a letter of support? Some
Absolutely.
type of, okay, so.
If Eugene's declaring sanctuary city.
Hold on, guys, hold on. So, out of this old business item, Eugene, because kind of all looking at you, right? Because we're like, Eugene.
Before we get there.
Yeah.
Give me a minute, Jessica. Letter of support, and it stays there, or is there something after? All right, I'll go to Jessica because, go ahead, Jessica.
No, maybe think.
I think Michelle's coming back in January, and I sent the NISCA, which would be the organization that the legislation would peg to write this criteria.
I didn't see.
NISCA currently has a couple of significant grants that could support Eugene, this laying the groundwork type of planning that
We
you're
never
talking
get it.
about. But things change, so I'm happy to help be a part of supporting that effort, but I'd like to, in addition to a letter of support or resolution, calling for whatever it is you think should happen, I agree. But I also want to, I really have a day job, but my other volunteering activity is, I know, right? I co-chair the Planning and Urban Design Committee at AIA New York, which is the American Institute of Architects. Don't ask me how I got that. Anyway, it's an opportunity. So in doing that, I would like to convene a panel discussion there at the Center for Architecture downtown, focus on this cultural districts legislation, invite Senator Serrano's office, invite none other than Eugene Rodriguez, and also invite someone, Oscar Periabuelo, who's the senior environmental justice correspondent for Next City, who actually knows a lot about cultural districts that San Francisco and Seattle have had some huge success in supporting as economic drivers. So that would be something that I would hope everybody would, be welcome to attend and get excited about, and hopefully we can time it with Senator.
We can work, yeah.
But I, would want to, Eugene, make sure that that's in support.
As long as it's not the night of the Super Bowl, I'm there.
That's Sunday. We'll make that work with your schedule.
That's number one. This is number two.
I put on a production during the Super Bowl. I had one person come to the show.
I think that, that's a great idea, a panel discussion to where like, of course, Michelle's gonna be working hand in hand with Eugene about, on the feasibility grant, which is great news. I think that's gonna open up
Which
a
is
lot of
NISTA, right?
information. Huh?
It is NISTA.
It is NISTA, I believe.
Feasibility grant, yeah. New York State Council on the Arts
Correct.
is NISTA.
But we want, actually, what I would love to see them do is to put economic development into cultural affairs, economic development rather than cultural affairs. NISCA funds the Museum of Natural History. So, that's, by the time they get to Gene Rodriguez, they got $5.
You want it to be
And I
under
want $5.
economic development, what's 5 times
So-
12? Yeah, right.
Hello? So,
EDC, right?
yeah,
You want it to be-
And EDC runs the Juliana Burgos.
Okay.
So, the economic development is where that should rightly be, just like this committee, economic development and culture. Those things go together.
That's something that last night, privilege of Verity, Dan Doctoroff, who wrote the Plan NYC and.
Small homes and be deputy mayor.
Yeah, deputy,
Yeah.
former deputy mayor of Bloomberg, but he said the same thing, that the economic development strategy, and it's pro-growth, so the whole no on rezoning is, but.
Eat it under your hat.
Yeah, not just with the fire, which is financial, and real estate, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
But
I know what you're talking about.
Fire and ice.
Right.
Which is the cultural and
Ah,
educational.
yes.
Yeah, so that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
And EDC understands that language, Eugene. So
Yes,
That's.
but somebody needs to
Talk
tell
about
them,
it, Yeah.
when people put in a cultural proposal, it's an economic development proposal. And rather than, okay.
You can tell them
cultural-
that.
I would tell them,
Hold it for it,
the,
yeah.
the cultural affairs get $64 million. Or should I say, NISTA gets $64 million. Economic development gets $64 billion.
Mm.
They're giving the Victoria Theater $80 million. To redo the theater, what do we get out of that? We were asking for $1 million over 5 years.
Eugene, let me ask you a question. Who would the letter of support be directed to?
The support should be to this congressman, Serrano. The Hispanic delegation at the Senate. And the Assembly, because the Assemblyman is the one that has to pass the rest of the
He
bill.
mentioned Gunther, right?
Yeah, somebody, you went to see it, didn't you?
I did.
Gunther,
I
is that
went back at the end of the month,
Did
yeah,
he mention Gunther?
she's a-
Gunther, she's a Liberty, Monticello, Sullivan County, Lower
So that's
Sullivan
what you
County.
mentioned, okay.
Yeah, she's the chair.
Okay, and then,
Yeah.
so this
Did you
letter of
tell her I don't want you don't want me to bring Gene Rodriguez up? Did you tell her that?
Ah, we need a lobby day.
I come with bricks and a lot of
Supposed to have-
breaking
She's a co-sponsor. of the-
Okay,
Claire, yeah. Claire-
Marty, do you need a date for this letter of support, like by Friday, so that we can?
I need to know if you guys are voting on something, if a motion is on the floor.
No motion.
No
There's no
motion?
motion, no, but we do
So
wanna
like-
get this to, the letter of support, we do wanna get it to full board by next week.
Yeah.
And then,
And so the motion will take place the same one as on full board?
Yes, it sounds like we're gonna be
That's
writing
what it
two
sounds like.
resolutions before.
Eugene,
Before the.
letter of support, I'm gonna help you draft this,
Okay,
but, I do need your help.
I have to.
Can I help too?
Yes, yes. So, okay, I don't wanna hold up, full board. We gotta kinda have to know what we're gonna do with this letter of
So
support.
as a process.
If you wanna work on, okay, so suggest if you wanna work on it and then come back in January as a committee and put a motion and then present that to full board, you can
I
do
think
that.
We
So
already-
you don't have to rush yourselves.
Yeah, and we're already looking at City of Yes, which I think should be everybody's main focus this week and next.
Timing wise, that'll be okay as well, I think, for any, yeah.
Okay, so just to recap, resolution of support, Jessica, you're going to send us the amended language. And Department of City Planning, City of Yes, everyone's gonna email me their questions. And then if you have other questions after things that they can still send it to Angel, correct? Or does this have to all come out of committee to land use
For tomorrow,
for Friday?
for Friday, send it, that's what I've been telling you, you guys are sending questions by Friday.
Okay, so questions for Friday. Again, community voice is still, you just like, we're gonna be out, no, I can't send another question, but Friday. And then the designation of East Harlem as a cultural district, we'll work on the letter of support, come back in January and make a motion. Okay, and the work is in here, that way at full board, we don't hold up anybody, take it back to the table, all that. All right, let's move on.
Quick question.
Yes.
Exactly where in, the cultural district going to be located?
In the resolution, it's outlined, but basically from 96th Street over to 25th. That
So
whole
all of
area.
East Harlem?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have the National Black Theater on 25th Street.
No, I get it. I know where the different, but I wasn't
No, I mean,
sure.
you have
I
cultural
haven't been there.
institutions.
Right, yes, all over.
On 125th Street, all the way to 96th.
I think it should, I mentioned this and maybe off the record, but there's something about flexible edges
Yes.
for something like a cultural district that like proximity or some, catchment that like, those hard lines, reinforcing those hard lines. I don't know.
I don't see why that, I mean, if Harlem wants to do a cultural district, they can do it. I am absolutely sure they won't include us. I mean, it's a long term.
And then there's overlap though
Yeah,
too.
it's a
between those
long-term
two.
solution, but I think it's gonna take the Senate 2 years to pass the cultural district bill. And I think we wanna be prepared to, when the tap for the money goes on, we wanna be standing underneath
Yes,
the tap.
yes, absolutely. We'll be
That's
ready.
what the feasibility study is for.
There you go.
And we're at the tap already.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, new business, anyone? Okay, I think we're ready for
Roll call.
roll call. Happy holidays, everyone. Hope you have a safe and enjoyable holiday. I'll see you in full board.
Sweet.
Full board. Marley, can you,
April
One
One second. April Autry is out. Mark Ravirsky,
Present.
Brandon Gillespie is out. Christina Johnson,
Present.
Sharon Lynch,
Present.
Giselle Malabe,
Present.
Alicia Miranda is out. Jessica Morris, Eugene Rodriguez,
Yeah.
Vinnie Torres is out. Jenny Tromsky, Anne Marie Vasquez, and Jason Wong. Here. Thank you.
You ever get tired of being around? No. It's like a bookend.
I like getting
Save the best for last, right?
I like getting the last word in.
Quiet storm. Have a good holiday.
Bye, you too.
Right. When do you think that's actually?
In the night.
Yes, I know.